is the
Should be this one test. Hey, there we go. What in the world? Well, that's a good way to start.
So, after experiencing our usual
Technical difficulties, we're back with audio this time.
So, today's episode will be brought to you by us, because we don't have sponsors.
That's right.
But, as you can tell from the title, we're going to tell you why PewDiePie is wrong, that Thanos is not a hero.
Okay, they can hear us now.
Good. Now that you can hear us.
There's a notables.
There's a notables. So as I was saying, this guy Brandon up the road, he's got this comic book store. It's called Play for Life Comics. Have you been?
Yes.
He's been.
It's very good. Very good.
If you haven't been, you should check it out. It's definitely worth checking out. He has excellent selections. He has some truly notable comics. Some excellent first appearances on the wall. He'll work you a deal. Tell him we sent you. He'll probably give you an extra, 20% off or something. I don't know. He'll definitely throw in a free copy of that 25-cent book DC put out. You're the Villain, right?
There you go. He'll probably give it to you free.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. But tell him we sent you. That way, cross. What is it? Cross branding. We're working with Brandon. Anyway, he has excellent selection of dollar books in his dollar bins as well. Yeah. So you can spend $100 on one book, or $100 on 100 books. And that's usually what I do. Don't tell my wife, please. She doesn't usually ask questions when I bring in boxes of comics, so you shouldn't make her. Anyways, some notables that I've been reading because I haven't been keeping up with a whole lot of new stuff other than Fantastic Four, which I think I mentioned last week or the week before or something. So, anyways, this week I've got a couple of books that I've read and want to note. This is an excellent issue of the classic X-Men. It's reprints of the Uncanny X-Men after the Giant Size X-Men #1 started. So they start there and then reprint issues. This is number 117, I think. No. Maybe 112. For those R&B fans out there. So anyway, as you can tell, they're fighting Magneto. And it is just an excellent issue. He's found the X-Men. They were in a circus thing as a sideshow, and he carries them away in the carriage that they were in. And they don't realize that at first. So spoiler alert. But it's really excellent. If you're into X-Men stuff and you've never read any of the classic stuff, please do. It's so good. I'll probably make him read it at some point, but I didn't find the third part of the story, so feels a little incomplete. But I did get to read Uncanny X-Men #150, reprinted in the classic X-Men 54, and that was excellent. It's a double-sized issue, and it's got a really cool fight with the X-Men, Magneto in it. So, another thing, a book that I had been looking to read for a while and get, I found in Brandon's stock of Legion of Superheroes comics, and he also found some Legion stuff in there. I don't know if he's bought it yet or not, but
yeah, I did.
Oh, sweet. Okay. But this is the excellent Alan Davis doing a Elseworlds version of Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. The premise of the story is that Superboy, uh, his spacecraft never made it to Earth, but got trapped in an asteroid, and so he was in suspended animation for 1,000 years. And then he was rescued by R.J. Brand, the guy who founded the Legion, and yeah, it's just really excellent. They fight a mystery villain and the Fatal Five. And then last but not least, one of my favorite groups is the New Warriors, and one of the most important characters was Firestar. And this is her mini-series. I picked this up at the Wake Forest Mini Comic Con. That's right, at a Mini Comic Con, I got all 4 parts of this mini-series. Blows your mind, I know. Excellent reading. If you're into Firestar because you watched Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in the 80s, go pick it up. If you're a Firestar fan because you like the New Warriors and you've never read that, pick it up. If you like good comics, pick it up. It's totally worth it.
My new one for the week was Fantastic Four Grand Design, and it's basically clips from old comic books.
Except the art is all new.
Is it?
Yep. The guy who's doing the book is the artist as well.
And it's basically telling the history of the Fantastic Four
in miniseries form.
So I haven't read it, but
So would we call this a mini series?
So, but yeah, I actually, when I was in there, if you watch my Halloween video, the lame video that it is, I talked about buying that. I had Brandon hold one for Lewis. Also in news, we did a video and I talked about it on Thursday, but I had like 5 hours worth of trouble trying to get it edited.
And even less sleep.
And even then it didn't get edited. I was just trying to get files over because we're still pretty new at this stuff. So that was a fun time. So it's not edited yet, but
I'm his support staff. And by support, I mean moral support. Good job, buddy.
Good
Keep
job.
working hard.
So it's coming. We've already filmed it and everything. I just got to edit it.
Should we tell them?
It took me forever.
Like the content of the video without spoiling it,
Yeah.
or
I might have mentioned something, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So that's coming out hopefully this week. If it hadn't taken,
it's related to the holiday. If nothing.
If it hadn't taken me literally all night to just get the videos on my computer, then I probably would have had it done by now. But no, Apple has to hate putting things on other devices. So
you could do with a Google phone, like an Android device. I have one, and you told me my
here's one on real smooth.
Stuff didn't cause any problems on your
I thought it would.
Non-Apple product.
So that's coming soon. We did film a Yoda video, but that's coming up next after that one.
It just requires a lot of editing, so
that one requires more editing because I got to
Right.
do voice stuff. So that's coming in the future. But I think that's all I really got.
One last thing. So, well, 2 things probably. I don't know. I could come up with more. So speaking of Alan Davis, who wrote and drew that Superboy's Legion, he's going to be writing starting in January, a 4-issue miniseries where the Avengers team up with the classic Defenders. It's going to be called Tarot, like tarot cards. So Tarot, Tarot. To those who don't know how to say tarot. So I'm excited about that. I think that's going to look great. There's also going to be a Fantastic Four and X-Men crossover dealing with the X-Men's claim on Franklin Richards as a mutant with the whole Krakoa deal that they got going on. So, and then Wonder Woman 750, her 80th anniversary coming up in January. Lots of covers, and I saw George Perez is doing one, so I'm probably going to get that one. Big shocker, I know. But, so be on the lookout for those. So, you ready to get deep? Like a 14-year-old trying to talk about philosophy? Because that's what he said, right? He's
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah.
guess.
So.
Lewis doesn't know much about PewDiePie, so he doesn't really get some of that stuff.
Yeah. So if I insult the man, know that it wasn't totally intentional.
I love Pewds. I watch him all the time. But this couldn't stand.
We couldn't sit for it, and yet we have no choice. Cause
some context for anyone who doesn't watch PewDiePie. He last week put out a video called "What is his greatest controversy?" or what is
most
his
controversial
worst?
video.
And it's not him, saying the N word or being a Nazi, which he isn't. But it's that he hates Marvel. He put a video out how much he hates Marvel,
particularly the movies, because I'm not sure he reads the comics.
Well, and I think a lot of people in general in our culture, just when they see Marvel, they think movies because they don't know about the comics really.
Fair point.
And so I've run into that a lot. People will be like, "Oh, I love Marvel," and I'm like, "Oh, which comic books have you read?" None. I didn't know comics were still a thing, and I'm like, "That's why."
Are you talking about that stuff they put in the newspaper on Sundays?
That's why they're not DC fans.
They would know about the comics.
I'm kidding.
Then.
I have some friends who are true Marvel fans, and not that others aren't, but they're not MCU.
We'll shout out Chase.
They're not specifically MCU fans. Anywho, I've heard a lot of criticism for the MCU, and I can understand a lot of it. I love the movies, most of them, but I can understand why some people don't. But the one thing I can't do is I'm tired of people telling me that Thanos is a hero. He is not a hero. He is the villain. He's the ideal villain in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
He's not at any point a hero. He might have a couple good qualities, as I think any fleshed out villain might.
Right. I mean, he's a created being. He's not uncreated like the One Above All or Eternity or things like that within the Marvel Universe. So there's some semblance of humanity in the character. So as a result, I think naturally he's going to display his own version of compassion from time to time and things like that. But when he's written well, he is the quintessential villain.
Right.
The essence of what it is to be a villain. Because it's not just this force of nature like death, but he serves that force of nature.
So, now, I don't think that Pewds is justifying killing of half the universe. I don't think that's what he's trying to argue. So I'll pass that. Give him a pass on that. But I think his ethics are a little mixed up there when he's quoting Kierkegaard.
Yeah.
And one of the critiques I have is that he's taking a religious theological argument and trying to make it into philosophy, which doesn't really work. But I'm not going to really get into that as much as the general argument itself. And we're going to try something on our channel that we haven't done before.
Not successfully, anyway.
We did review a couple things a while back, but it wasn't very successful. Or it wasn't very smooth. We're going to try it again, so bear with us as we switch over here. My goal is not to show, or not to play his whole video, but just kind of discuss some of the things he says. Hopefully the audio comes through, and we should know pretty quickly if it does. Alright. We will be with you in a second. Yes.
We'll be back.
No, I can't do that. It's copyrighted. There we go.
Are.
Okay.
And we're back.
Alright. So we're going to play through this. And
so what do they see?
hopefully it'll work. They should be seeing the video. That's what they see. Alright.
Population. Well, I would argue that Thanos was actually better than all of us. Here's why. Well, first of all, was Thanos right? To understand that, you must understand what is right. You have glasses.
He's got much better editing than we do.
What is right? Think about it. Why do it's such a smug question. Don't think too hard. This is not I'm 14 and this is D.
There's
I'm
the
waiting.
14 thing.
Right is, in most senses, and you could call an ethical system to bring wellness to something, a community or yourself. And
All right, what do you think of that definition of right?
Well, I don't think it's right.
What?
Yeah, no. So he mentioned to bring wellness to one's community or oneself,
Right.
right?
Right.
I think I think he's looking in the right direction, but I think he's
The
on
right direction.
Yeah, but he's off in the wrong path.
Right.
So this is the thing. Ethics don't change. Ethics aren't. Ethics are foundational for community. Morality changes based on what is culturally acceptable in your community, but ethics is foundational. So your community is built up from that. So they don't change. This is the fixed understanding of what's right and what's wrong. So it's wrong to for me to take this hammer over here and bludgeon Jonathan in the head with it.
Yeah, and I think wellness is not strong enough of a definition of right in general.
Well, we could say human flourishing,
Right.
and that's what I presume he's going for.
Because I wonder if sometimes you could apply that to some situations that are obviously not right, just because it might, and I guess like it just depends. Wellness in general might be too limiting, or not specific enough.
Too vague. Yeah.
Too vague, and so like you could hypothetically you could have somebody who thinks it's beneficial for their community, but it's actually not the right thing to do, if that makes sense. And so they're doing
Oh,
something
you mean like
immoral.
Nazis?
Yeah.
They were a community, and they thought it was a good idea to slaughter
We're not calling
Jews.
him a Nazi.
No. But the Nazis thought it was okay to slaughter Jews and gays and blacks and people of any sort of questionable ethnicity,
Right.
Because it benefited the Nazi community.
And so we're going to disagree with the idea of right and wrong, or what is right. And I'm going to argue. Obviously, we're Christian, so we have a theistic view. But if we're going pure philosophical, I'm going to go with more of a Platonic idea that there are these forms. There's these
Fixed ideas.
fixed ideas that are right and wrong that are out there.
So there is something called true beauty
They're not like
and true goodness.
they're not what's it called? Like actual physical things.
They're ideas.
They're ideas, and we're going to argue as Christians that they're actually take the form in God, like the attributes of God manifest what is right and wrong, and we know what is right and wrong because it is that which is close aligned to the personality, the attribute of God Himself. So, what is beauty? God is beautiful. Anything that reflects Him is beautiful, and so that's how we're going to go. But I think still at a philosophical level, if you're not going to buy into that, the ideas of right and wrong are metaphysical and not a physical thing that's determined by different cultures, because otherwise you could go over to another culture that say, and I actually had a discussion with an atheist about this, where they refused to tell me that rape is always wrong because, or even like slavery is always wrong, because they wanted to say that morality is based on what the culture defines it as. And I said, no, just because...
Except that's the definition I just gave.
Right. So, if...
ethically, slavery is wrong.
Right. slavery.
morally speaking, one culture could determine that
Right.
it's okay.
And so if America in the 1700s, 1800s decides that it's okay to have slavery, were they wrong? I'm going to say objectively, yes, they were wrong because of a moral standard. But if morality is determined by the culture, by the people, what's best for its own society, then we can't say that they were necessarily wrong because it was what they thought was best for their people. The society determines what is right and wrong. We can't judge them for that. I say that's wrong. That we can judge them for that because morality is not based on what people think it is. What culture determines is right and wrong. It's actually an objective truth that's out there. So right off the bat, we're going to disagree.
Right. So
with
we're arguing that his definition of what right is incorrect.
Right. All right.
Right.
Moving on.
Sometimes making the right choice will lead to unethical actions, like say wiping off half the universe.
You pause it.
Okay, we're pausing again.
Sorry. So he said sometimes the right choice leads to unethical action. And so that's where I would argue that no, it shouldn't if it's the right choice.
Right.
Ethically, it should be clear. Right? Morality, you could argue that morally it's wrong. Right? I'm trying to think of an example.
While he's thinking, I see two philosophies on this, or two main philosophies on this. One is that there are circumstances in which you cannot choose something that's okay. Let me start over. There are some situations where there's no right answer, and that you do not have a right choice. The other
an observable right.
Right.
Choice.
And then the other philosophy says that in any situation, there's always a choice that is morally right, that is ethically right to do. That even though it might not always be perceivable by you in the situation, there's always a way for you to have chosen the right way. And I'm an optimist, so that's more of the way I follow. I think he's going the other way with that, and maybe he's even going with a third idea that even sometimes the right choice leads to bad.
Well, he's not arguing outcomes. It sounds like he's saying that the right choice will lead to not just a bad outcome, but a wrong choice.
Right. So I don't know how you make a right choice that is a wrong choice.
Objectively a right choice
Right.
that can be objectively described as wrong.
Now, I will say, and this comes from a Christian perspective, that I think that there are correct choices that lead to unpleasant or undesirable, difficult outcomes, but that's different from choosing, and that does occur, but that's different from choosing a right choice that leads to an unethical decision, an unethical outcome. And so you can choose the right choice, which is often, I think, usually harder, and ends up less desirable in the end. The right choice rarely seems to be, desirable in the end as far as the outcome. But it's the right thing to do. And I think we see that in Captain America. He knows what's the right thing to do. This is wrong because it's the wrong thing. He doesn't care what the outcome is. And so he chooses, I'm going to fight you because it's the right thing to do.
I'm going to punch you in the face, Hitler.
And I think that's the biggest problem that I had with the Infinity War Endgame is we never saw Captain America in that moment where he's like, we're going to stand up and fight you because it's the right thing to do. And even if it leads to our death, and of course he's like, in the comics, he's just like swatted aside and killed like that. But
did we get a I could do this all day moment with Thanos?
I think we did.
I don't know if he said it or not, but I wanted him
Well, we
to
kind of
say
felt
it.
that way.
Yeah.
But Captain America, he does things because it's the right thing to do, even if it's a hard choice, even if it ends in a bad outcome. I think that's still within the realms of there's always a right, an option to choose the right decision. Uh, Hypothesis.
Well, I mean,
Whatever you're gonna say.
yeah. So I don't remember what I was going to say, but just making the argument with Thanos, he has the ultimate wish fulfillment object literally in his hand,
Right.
and he can't think of another possible solution to the problem now that he has unlimited power. Because wasn't he on the I'm going to wipe out half the universe anyway with the resources at my disposal? Oh, now I have a quicker way to achieve that goal, the Infinity Gauntlet. But you would think now that he has access to the power of the Gauntlet and the stones that, oh, maybe there's another way to do it. But instead, he just deludes himself over and over again, hence his title, The Mad Titan. He just continues to buy into his own hype and allows himself to be convinced that there's no other way.
Now let's keep listening because I want to
Yeah.
get to the point where he talks about Thanos being a hero because we
Yeah.
haven't even got.
Sorry. Well, he said it.
The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who I've spoken about before on my channel, calls this concept in the book of Fear and Trembling
Now I haven't read that book.
theological suspension
Neither
of
have I.
the ethical. Telos means goal in Greek,
Just for
and
transparency's sake.
basically means putting aside what is right or what is technically good to do.
In common
in
parlance, he's
for
saying that the
something
end
greater.
justifies the
If
means.
you
Yeah.
buy G Fuel, enter the code PewDiePie to become epically energized. And
I guess
become
we're
quenched.
supporting G Fuel. Not a sponsor.
Believe that wiping
For
out
us, it
the
is for him.
universe
Yeah.
Would be
So if you buy it, it only helps him, not us.
Yeah, that's all right.
So. And thrive and become better, and not just cease to exist. I think that's the consensus. I don't really remember.
This universe is finite, its resources finite. If life is left unchecked, life will cease to exist. It needs correction.
You don't know that!
Right.
I'm the only one who knows that.
But his goal is for things to turn out well, and he doesn't take pleasure in the killing, which I think is an important distinction.
He
All
doesn't.
right.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
So I'm gonna try to summarize. He's going just from the movie.
Yep.
Not the thing because
No. But he kills people in the movies, and
Right.
he seems to enjoy it.
doesn't he even say I'm going to enjoy this at one
Yes.
point?
Yes.
So there's that, but I think so. Lewis pointed it out. Basically, what a lot of this argument comes down to is the end justifies the means, and so what that phrase means is that whatever the getting to the desired outcome is
Regardless
more,
of how you get there.
is more important than how you get there. So even if you kill millions or half the population of the universe to get to what he perceives as the right end goal, which I'm going to argue is not the right end goal.
No.
In general, because I'm going to even disagree with that. Then the way you do it is justified if you can get to the correct means, and I think that's terrible.
Right.
I think it's really terrible.
It's kind of like in the you see these people who beat the Mario games in 2 seconds because they found a glitch. That's not a speed record because you haven't honestly achieved anything other than discovering some glitch in the system that the ordinary person shouldn't be able to discover.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I'm just saying, like,
It's very different than what we're talking about.
no, it's not. It's cheating to achieve a record that they don't deserve.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, I'm just saying though, like, if you're gonna play the game, you play the game out. I'm just saying.
It's a speed run. The goal is to get there as fast as you can. If there's a glitch, you can't help that.
Yes, you can. Try and beat it the other way, the hard way.
Oh my
Sorry.
goodness.
I'm just saying.
Anyways,
Thanos has discovered a glitch in the system, the
Oh.
Infinity Gauntlet, and he still can't figure out how to get to the right end in an appropriate
But
way.
the reason
That's my argument.
he is not a hero. So let's assume that that Thanos is correct in his end goal. Okay, let's assume that's correct. Getting there by killing, half of the universe, that's billions and trillions and trillions and trillions of life forms.
Well, that's just billions on Earth, right?
Right.
So
Billions on Earth,
untold
trillions and untold numbers of life
creatures.
in the universe is not the right thing to do. And if you do that, if you go on to kill, you are breaking that moral code, I guess.
Ethical code.
The ethical code. And you are stepping into no longer being justified in your actions.
Self-defense is one thing.
Self-defense is one thing.
Purposely wipe out life.
Right.
That's ethically wrong.
I mean, it's genocide.
Of a sort.
Of a sort.
Yeah.
Mass murder.
Yeah, mass murder, definitely.
Okay. So, that end is not justified by its means. Being made right by the law is what justified means. Being made right in the eyes of the law. And so, he is not declared just by the law. And I think that Gamora... It's Gamora.
Yeah.
I always get Nebula and Gamora switched name-wise.
Green
Gamora.
Gamora.
There you go. Gamora says it exactly right. You don't know that.
Right.
And
His response is, I'm the only one who knows that.
Yeah. So that might make you mad in the head, Yeah. There's a reason he's called the Mad Titan. It's because he's a mass murderer.
He's referred to as the Mad Titan in the movies as well.
Yeah. So, Thanos is not a hero because the hero defends life, which is why I think it's an interesting topic as to whether it's okay for heroes to kill. Can you call someone like the Punisher a hero? There's a reason he's called an anti-hero.
Yes.
It's because he does good things sometimes, but he also does bad things, like killing people.
Right.
Now, I think it's a whole nother discussion that really isn't applied to our topic at hand about whether the government can kill. That's a whole nother issue.
Kettle of fish.
And,
Horse of a different color.
And perhaps you can talk about whether it's okay for the heroes to kill mindless aliens that are trying to invade and kill and fight Earth. So, is that self-defense? Those are all questions that are raised up. Are they still heroes for that? I think those are good questions. We're probably going to disagree even on that.
Yeah, probably.
So I think that depending on the circumstance, it's okay for heroes to kill, especially self-defense, given no other options to stop a bad guy from harming someone else. But he's probably more on the hero should never kill. So
I'm on the Batman is totally justified to allow the bad guy to die in a fiery train crash because he's under no obligation to save the bad guy.
Right. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far as the Punisher being justified in just massacring the bad guys.
Right. So like there's a Spider-Man comic where the Punisher crosses over and he's like beating up a junkie, a drug user, a drug dealer, and trying to get information out of him. And then as he's walking away, allowing the drug dealer to live, the drug dealer pulls out a gun and Punisher turns on him and shoots him. Like, that seems justifiable.
That seems
self-defense.
justifiable to me.
Yeah, it's self-defense. It's another thing for him to drop down in the midst of, a gang meeting and just go and mow them down. That's a little bit different.
Right.
Not that they aren't deserving of that
Right.
because of their horrible actions, but at the same time, you're
Now
like...
you have an alien invasion coming to New York, and you have, thousands of aliens trying to kill everybody. I say justified in killing the aliens.
I would have to examine the situation further.
They're actively trying to kill people. It's a military strike. You're defending yourself from the aliens. I'd say that's justifiable. Not in every single case, because you're going to have to go individually by alien. But anyways,
That's another. Yeah.
We wanted to get into ethics today, so we wanted to have some fun with that. But I hope you're enjoying this. But I think this is where we fundamentally disagree. I don't know if we'll watch the rest of this because he says the same thing. And again, I like PewDiePie. I watch a lot of his videos. I really hate that people think that Thanos is a hero. He's not. Whether you think he's right in his end goal is another issue from whether he's a hero.
Right. I think his end goal is noble, to want to alleviate suffering and poverty and folks not being able to provide resources for themselves and things like that. I mean, so we work toward that, right?
Yeah.
We sponsor soup kitchens and we donate to those things, and we give a handout to the homeless, and we adopt children so they don't have to live in deplorable housing situations and things like that. And hey, while we're on the subject, I think it's Christmas season, Thanksgiving, those times. So, please donate to the homeless shelters or the little kids' Christmas things. Just because they don't have homes, and traditional families where mom and dad are both there and that sort of thing. Look out for other people. I know that there are going to be scammers out there who want to take advantage of people, but do your research on the internet. I mean, you'd be foolish not to.
Yeah.
And find reputable places that need help and help. I just want to say that before I go off on a rant about Thanos.
I'm gonna argue that at least the world population thing is bogus.
Right.
We were reading an article that talked about how you could fit every single person on the earth comfortably in the state of Texas, and
with a
small plot of land
to farm off of,
and we would all fit in one state. I mean,
and we talked about
we talk about how there's no more room. There's tons of room on this planet.
There's overcrowding in cities.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so,
but there's a reason why there's overcrowding. It's because everybody wants to be there.
Right. Well, it jams up the supply lines, and so unfortunately, those who are of privilege, who have money or position or power, get access to resources first, and then unfortunately it doesn't trickle down to those at the bottom who don't have power, resource, or privilege. And so there are people who do without.
Yeah. And I think that there's been some great movements
Yes.
that have ended up lessening world hunger in general.
That's true. There is progress being made in those.
One of our friends, Dacus, he was talking about how they've manipulated the wheat to grow more so that
it's resistant to disease.
It's resistant to disease, and so they reap a bigger harvest, and just that alone has just lessened the amount of world hunger that there is because of that scientific advancement. And so I think that
the flip side of that, though, is, as I've heard, that gluten allergies are on the rise as a result of the manipulation to the wheat.
Yeah.
So,
but at the same time, I wonder, like, for those of us who can afford
Yeah.
to worry about gluten allergies, that's one thing. But for some people who just need bread, need food, they might not have that luxury. So I'm all for having a market for people who have allergies and stuff, or don't want to have like manipulated food. But I don't also hate it completely because it's helping people have food, and I think that's great. So I think that his fundamental idea that there's the worlds are overpopulated. Maybe some world out there is like Coruscant, but that's not even in Marvel, and never should be in Marvel. Uh, Never should be. Disney, do not cross over Star Wars with anything else.
Oh right, yeah. Please don't do that.
Just leave it alone. Honestly, they just sell it back to Lucas. That'd be more desirable, but
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. So, what do you think, guys? We want to hear what
No,
your
I hadn't
thoughts are.
finished. I was going to say something else about Thanos.
Okay, I didn't say we were done. I was
Oh,
saying
okay.
what
Go
do you
ahead.
think?
All right.
Leave in the comments what you think.
We can't see those at the moment, though.
We're throwing a lot in there. I don't know if anybody is on right now. We're doing it a little earlier than we usually do. Now go ahead.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. He's messing me up because my wife is texting me.
We're very organized in this, as you can tell. We're professionals.
So here's my thing. If the argument is that
I'm gonna switch back to us since we're not using it
the
anymore.
selection is random with the wiping out of half the population, how come Thanos didn't die? I just find it very convenient that he wasn't one of the ones that the gauntlet, his wish, the universe, whatever ultimate force was behind his desire for that, didn't take him out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if he ultimately wanted what was good for the universe,
Why didn't he start with himself?
well, not wipe himself out, but include himself if he's now achieved what he wanted.
Because he set himself up as the
hero.
the arbiter of right and wrong.
Right. And ultimately,
And that's how
that is contrary to the sense of community.
And that's how every tyrant starts.
Right.
They set themselves up as the arbiter of what is and isn't right, and then they deal out their will against other people.
So that's why Thanos isn't a hero, because he established for himself what was right and wrong. The Avengers said, no, what's right isn't the needless taking of all these lives, but subjecting yourself to what's right and then fighting for it. So Thanos said, no, I know what's right. I know. And you guys are going to be subject to my knowing what's right, whether you agree with me or not. And then the heroes who objectively looked around and said, I don't think these folks want to die, so we're going to stand up against you and try to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, and even if they did want to die, that doesn't justify him in killing them.
Right.
So.
But, I mean, there's this understanding that you don't just randomly kill people.
Right.
That's on par with crazy people who shoot up schools and junk.
Right.
So, Thanos, he's the Mad Titan. He's not a hero. He needs help.
In a lot of ways, he's a copy of Darkseid. I mean, that's where he originated. But
well, he actually started, interestingly enough, as a copy of Metron, and then one of the higher ups at Marvel was like, "Well, if you're gonna copy a new god, you may as well copy the good one." And so that's how he became more like Darkseid.
well, Darkseid, who was also a tyrant.
Yes. Of the highest sort.
Yeah. I mean, Darkseid's definitely worse. If you had to choose which one you want to fight against, I'd definitely choose Thanos, because
probably.
I'd rather not face against Darkseid.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because
the lesser of two evil.
I mean, Darkseid's subjects actually love him, even though they're in probably the worst possible condition.
Yeah. They're basically in hell.
Yeah, and they love it.
Some of them do.
No. The way that it's presented, they love
Well,
it.
you have Barda and
I mean
others who get out.
I mean the ones at the very bottom.
Okay, fair enough.
Because Superman kicks the crap out of Darkseid at the end of the Superman animated series show, and he throws him down and he says, "You're free!" And then they all huddle around Darkseid and pick him up and take care of him.
Yeah.
And Superman's left like, what the heck? But he laid a whooping on him. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Go watch the Superman animated series. It's amazing. And he crosses some lines that I may or may not approve of.
Well, I like the one in Justice League where he's like,
No, that's perfect.
I've met a lot of people. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells.
No, I live in a world made out of cardboard.
And but I feel like you can take it. And he just beats him. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But we're not here to talk about DC and the wonders of DC. We're here to talk about Marvel.
Yeah. I mean, at no point do I feel like Darkseid has ever been presented as anything other than the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
So at least DC gets that right.
So I like that they're trying to make Thanos more relatable, because having villains that are relatable, you'd be like, okay, with the Joker, you're just one bad day away from being him, supposedly. And Thanos, like, you can see where he went wrong. Like, it's not that he had bad logic, he just had bad morality. Bad ethical system. Sorry, I use them interchangeably.
I know you do, and that's kind of the problem,
problem.
because we then equate them as being the same thing, but ethics don't change. Morality is because you use them interchangeably, you get them confused. But
There you go.
morality is subject to culture. Ethics subject culture to what is right and wrong.
So, because he has an unethical system.
Yes.
That it leads him to really bad places.
Yeah.
Which is why he gets pitted against our heroes, and we cheer for them.
To kick the crap out of him.
And we're happy when Thor chops his head off, because you're like, finally, like, this stupid guy died.
Except, it wasn't the end.
It wasn't the end.
But we loved it when Iron Man said, I am
good.
Iron Man. And Thanos was like, huh?
I am inevitable. I am Iron Man.
And then he faded away.
So, we love the movies. We love the MCU. And again, I love Pewds. I think he's a great YouTuber, inspiration to all of us.
I'm still waiting to see what all the hubbub is about. He showed me a couple videos, and there's some funny stuff, but at other times I'm just like...
He's not a 9-year-old,
All
so...
Just at heart. Ask my wife.
So...
Told her that when we started dating. I'm a child at heart.
Okay.
That's why I have a closet full of toys.
Let us know what
Action
you think.
figures.
We don't hate on him. I don't want people.
I hate his opinion.
Well, I just don't want people going around believing that Thanos is right. And honestly, like, until I watched the video, I had to watch it a few times to really soak in what he was saying. And it wasn't until the third time that I realized that he actually does, like, condemn mass genocide. So I was like, okay.
Which is
I was
good.
like, good. It
That's
is in
good.
there.
That's good for society.
It's in
not
there.
Not approving of mass murder.
So I don't think that he means that, but I think the problem is the dangers of his ethical system does lead to that. Because if the ends justify the means, then you can live like the Punisher, you can live like Thanos, and you can kill people.
Or the Joker.
Or Deadpool, and you can kill people without, as long as it leads to what you perceive as or society perceives as a just end. And so that's the problem. It leads to a lot of unethical behavior.
So if you get to that point where you think ethically it'd be a good idea to kill somebody,
Or yourself.
Yes, please seek help.
Yes.
Suicide hotline,
There's
friends.
There's people out there that
Yeah.
want to help you. People who love you are willing to.
Even people who don't know you love you.
That's
I mean,
right.
we call you guys family because, I mean, we might not know you that well, but we know that you like the same things that we like, and so we have that in common. It's not worth it.
Not worth it.
Pursuing death as Thanos did is never
the answer.
no.
So I hope you enjoyed that, guys.
We got real serious real fast there. But
but we do enjoy talking about these things, and we enjoy you guys. Thanks for watching. Sorry, our schedules have been pretty hectic the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I had to work last week, or
Uh,
my wife had to work. Sorry.
last Monday,
Yeah.
and I tried to do the live Halloween thing, and that just failed miserably.
Next
So-
time we'll just use my phone. Maybe.
Maybe. Well, you were busy. You couldn't even help.
No, I mean, with the video that's upcoming next time.
Oh, that's what
I could
you're
just
talking
give you my phone. You could do your part of it, and then give it back to me, and I could do my part of it, and we could keep it all live. You know what I mean?
I suppose
I think it would work that way.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Until then, technical difficulties.
Hopefully that video will come out sometime this week, barring more technical difficulties.
Other than work, you mean?
So thanks for watching. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. Give us a like if you enjoyed that. Let us know what you think. We would love to discuss
Can't
it.
find a way to get both hands on screen.
Come to the middle. And we will catch you next time.
Peace.
Peace.